Good day everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Ibrahim Diallo and this is part 9 of how to build a website from scratch. In the previous episodes we got to the point where we can make a call to get data from any sources. We didn't specify the source yet, but of course our source will be the database. We set it up to be able to call this data. Today we're going to be attaching our framework to a database, MySQL, and we are actually going to write some SQL finally. So this way, by the end of this episode, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get data from the database and display it on the page. And I'm gonna make a few changes so we can actually see those pages. We can click on a link, for example, and it takes us to the correct article. So yeah, let's try to get that started today. And let's start. Today we're gonna start using MySQL. As you can see, I'm using a client called MySQL Workbench. What it does is make it easier to interact with MySQL on our computer. That's not what our framework is going to be using, but it's just an application for us to visualize the database. And you can go to mysql.com/workbench and you can download this application. It's really useful. It makes your life much easier. Anyway, you could do the same thing with the command line, but here I just want to make it easier for everyone. If you're using Windows, Linux, or Mac, you can still have access to this application. It's just easier than the command line, but you could use the command line too. Anyway, I'm going to start by creating a database and creating some users, a single user that will have access to that database. If you haven't used MySQL yet, that's how it works. You're supposed to create users, and each user can get inside the database and do a specific task. In our case, I'm going to create a user called Scratch Blogger, and our database is going to be called Scratch Blog, and I'm going to give that user full access to it. And also, I'm going to create a table. We're going to start with the article. That way, we can start writing articles in the database and be able to display that. To tell the truth, before I started writing, I wasn't sure really how it's supposed to look like. So I did something very basic, just get a title, a URL, the content, the date added, and I didn't really pay attention to the data type. I gave, for example, the title just 200 characters, it's a varchar. Same for the URL. It could be bigger or smaller, it doesn't matter. At least not now. Right now, we don't really care about optimizing and all that. Like they say, premature optimization is the root of all evil. So we're not going to try to make like the best structure right away. All I need right now is to be able to save data in it. Like, for example, I added is published field, but from the beginning, we don't really need that. So I'm just going to remove it. Yeah. And that too. Okay, so I created a table from MySQL. I'm going to test it. We can access this data even though it's empty. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to our old application and copy the blog post that we wrote. I'm just going to copy the title, the date it was published, and the content. That's all that's going to be needed here. The URL is just the way it's going to be displayed on the URL over there. So it's going to be scratchblog.com/blog/ whatever the title is. And you have to remember our framework now supports that. So in the router, we can create those routes and it'll automatically send to the correct place. Right now I'm doing since we wrote 2 articles, I did part 1 and part 2. And we're going to add the content also and save it. And just like that, we have 2 blog posts. They're in the database and we don't need to worry about them right now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is try to fetch that data from our application. If you remember, inside the article manager, I tested that, tried to call it, and it didn't return any errors. No, but now finally we're going to call this data and get it back in our application. In this particular case, I didn't make use of all the power of our framework. For example, here I'm doing the escaping myself. I just use printf, and then for if you're trying to escape an integer, that's how you do it. I just wanted to write quickly. I don't really care about the structure right now. I'm gonna improve that over time. And even though I have those things, there's one thing missing. how do I connect to the database? I don't know how to do that. I mean, I didn't write that yet. So I'm gonna have this special class called interaction, and it's gonna have a few functions on it. And this is gonna be extended by our article manager class. And I'm gonna give it something like a way to get the manager, the data manager, and a way to run queries. I'm gonna like I'm sorry. This was inspired by my framework, which supports more interaction with the data. But right here, I just want to make copy one of the queries, one of the functions that I have in there that I think they're very useful. It's just called simply query. All I do is like I write a query, pass it, and then it returns the data. And internally, um, it's gonna do all the work. I don't really care how it, well, actually I do care right now because I have to I have to write that. So I'm just gonna have this function called raw query. It doesn't make use of all the fancy parameters and all that. All it does is you give it a query, it runs it, and gives you back the result. I didn't even really care about the way it returns. For example, if you do an execute or like an insert or an update, I didn't really take care of that yet, but we'll see it in the future. Anyway, so raw query, we give it a query like select all from database, select all from articles where whatever value, and we pass it that, and it's just gonna run the query as is, and that's it really. Also, I want to make sure that if we run a query and we get no results, to give us back false. So that way, like when I run a query, I can just check if it's true or false. And sorry, if it's false, just say, yeah, there were no results, so I don't have to continue. Also, in this case here, you see, I'm not writing any error handler because inside, for example, my MySQL helper query, we already have error handlers in there. So if you pass a query and there's an error in it, it's gonna stop right there. You're not gonna go any further. The rest of the code is not gonna run. So that's gonna be very useful to us. And also, I haven't really developed the error handling. Um, I guess maybe we can do that on the next video in a way that, for example, when you get an error, you get a specific page displayed, and it just tells you like what went wrong. Right now, all it does is throw that error that we wrote in there, that string. But what I want to do is also add that like a trace, so you know exactly which part went wrong, and you know, you see all the parts where your code went through. Anyway, finally, I'm gonna make use of that that function I called simply query, and see how it works. Okay, I'm gonna call my blog, and boom, it failed. It says that table does not exist. That's correct because we didn't even give those information to our framework. So now here inside settings, I'm gonna say the name of our framework, which is Scratch blog. I mean our database, and the username, the password. And unfortunately, I created an infinite loop here. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that because I used the triple equal sign, and unfortunately, I think it returns null when you're done with the pointer, because you see I'm calling fetch array, and it's going through every single iteration, and I need to check that. I'm not sure yet. I think when it doesn't find any more results, it just returns null, and yeah, that didn't work out for me. It was created. I set to check for the value false. Anyway, I removed the triple equal sign. I just put 2 for now, so you see this can be useful sometimes. Oh, hold on, I didn't do it yet, but I will. And also, I was confusing the fetch array, fetch ASOC, which is associative array, and fetch object. Fetch object is what I was looking for, but you see, I'm struggling here. I forgot what I was supposed to be doing. Let's see if I figure it out. Yeah, it failed again. I forgot. Yeah, there you go. Now it's gonna start working. Good. Yeah, I'm making a comment here to do for later, at least to investigate what is going wrong, because this is not all. It's not safe to keep this piece of code over there. Okay, seems to be returning the data correctly. And I can remove my debugging code, or unless I have something else to debug. Yeah, so this is giving me associative array. I'm gonna use an object instead. Yeah, which is kind of it's just a preference. I like using my objects like that. At least to me makes much more sense. So okay, I'm gonna finally try to test that query. I'm gonna run it. First, I made a mistake. I'm gonna just type random shift to see what the errors looks like. That's how it looked like. Perfect. Okay. So now let's run the query. Well, not yet. Oh, okay. Yes, we need to display this data on the page. So right now I'm just gonna hard code it on the home page, just to test to make sure that this data is there. And of course, I forgot how it's supposed to look like. So make sure I got my variables correct. And you can see PHP has this advantage. It can be used as a programming language and also as a templating language. So here I'm using it as a templating language. I'm gonna go take the format from the previous blog we built. Just gonna remove the parts that are not necessary. Dynamically populated from the database. As you can see, I'm using article dash greater than sign, then content. That's the way you use objects. Okay, so let's try. Look at that. Our website is now displaying correctly. I ordered by date added from latest to newest. And one thing here is it would be nice that on the homepage you can click on the title and it takes you to the correct article. I haven't implemented that yet, but I should be adding that too. First thing is I want to be able to send this, like when you click on that link, it takes you to a particular page, and that page we'll call it the reading page, basically the actual article page. We already have that in the router. I'm gonna get to it right now so we can just double check. Oh, wow. I always forget the next thing I'm gonna be doing. Anyway, because I hard coded on the home page, I want to make sure that I can use the same template for all my pages. So that index.html.php gonna be used everywhere. But inside each function in the controller, I'm gonna pass this variable called render to call a sub template basically. So the main template is index, and then inside this we're gonna have another template, and we're gonna add that functions with the view, the local view. This it's not defined yet, but I'm just writing it right now, and defining it next. All it does really is just call another template from inside our template. That's gonna be very useful. So that way, like if I have a particular thing like a widget, for example, I can call it from with this. In the future, we're gonna be able to call an action from the controller directly from the template. That's gonna be a little more complex, but it's gonna come in the future. As you can see here, most functions are already defined. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I can just use this, pass my template, and then call get view on it. And that's it. And of course, I forgot that this returns an object and not a string. So I have to go back, have a function called get content. I can just use it directly over here. There you go. So now the homepage is independent. I can use the same template for the other pages now. For the other page, which is going to be called, I'm going to call this function read. As you can see, I already defined it inside the routing file. Read action, and then gives it the title as the parameter. I'm just going to test to make sure it works. Good. Just type the title and exit. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to create this page and make use of that title to access my database. Again, EM stands for Entity Manager. I stole that from Doctrine. I just like the way it's called, and it's just 2 characters, so that's useful to me. I make sure I define my render variable that I'll be passing inside my template in the bottom. And also get the article. As you can see, I'm going to call the articles before I actually define the function. So get article by title, for example. And give that to our array. Well, sometimes I'm struggling because I'm not sure what I want to do, but please bear with me. Okay, I'm going to start defining that function now, get article by title. All it does is just take the title and adds it to the query. And of course, since title is coming from the URL, it's vulnerable to SQL injection. So I'm going to use like a simple way of doing SQL injection. I mean, preventing SQL injection using my SQL real escape, because I know this is supposed to be a string and nothing else. And make sure also those are protected. Sometimes you think something and you just can't type it. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna call it escape. So instead of writing real escape string or MySQL real escape string, I'm just gonna call this. And of course, you need the connection object to do that, which is not available on the manager. And I will make it available by making it public. So this get connection and then real escape string and pass the string. And that's it. So now I can escape this character right here. All I need to do is use this dot um, escape and then give it a title. As you can see, I come from JavaScript, so I have problem reading my PHP code. Actually, I don't know how to read code, really. It doesn't make any sense. It's much better to just write it. And here I want to make sure that because MySQL returns multiple results, even if there's just one, it's going to return an array. I'm going to just grab the first result. Okay. Now, once I have this, I should be able to call my template that I just created inside home/article.html.php. And from there, of course, I always make a little mistake. Yeah, I forget to put the $sign. It happens. And just like that, it works. And of course, I need to add a slash for the logo because the logo wasn't showing on the template. Index.php. Oh, well, sometimes you just don't want to do the right thing. Okay, here I'm just gonna paste the article to make it. Yeah, just copy this part right here, the article part. Add that inside article.html.php. And there you go. We have our article, just like that. There's always something to struggle about. As you can see, this video is accelerated, and I'm playing it and reading over. So sometimes I'm not sure really what I'm gonna be doing next. So please, I do apologize for these weird things that happen. Anyway, I'm gonna start by adding a link now. So when we're on the home page, we can click on the title, and it takes us to the page. Because sometimes on a blog you have just a snippet of the article. And then you have a link. When you click on it, it gives you the full article. So we're going to be making that. Just put a slash blog and then the article URL that is currently saved in the database. So I'm just going to echo article slash URL. Let's just call it slash for now. Slash, by slash I mean dash greater than sign. Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay, of course I have to go back to the homepage first to see the difference. Okay, once I refresh, there, in blue. And when I click on it, click on it, and it takes me to the correct page, just like that. And that worked for us. So now we have a blog now. So if we go on our database and we keep on adding more articles, it just updates. We don't need to do anything else. It grabs the database, the data from the database, and then just display it on the page. That's it. Oh, and there's one thing that I forgot I should have added is just the navigation. I can go and add that inside index.html.php also, just to make it easier to navigate. So any article you are in, you can just click there to get back to the home page. I'm gonna have that home just be a / to bring us back to the root. Oh yeah, remove that code for now. We will still need it later, but we can remove because we're gonna add the About Us page also in the future, in the near future. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it About for now. There, we click, we're on the home page, and we can see this works like a charm. Look at that. I haven't done the About Us page yet, but we'll get to that too in the future. Anyways, as you can see, we completed the whole page now. We have data coming from the database, and it works. The next thing we should be doing is just adding this data now back, like adding more data and just getting our blog populated. Of course, at some point we will not want to go to the database itself to add data, so we're going to have to create some sort of admin, and that too is going to come in the future. But for now, I think this is perfect. We can see how we can move on to the next step. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. You can finally see our website taking shape, and it looks like something usable, and that it's running on a framework that's very fast because it doesn't do much really. All it does is get data from a database and display it on this template. That's it. And that's pretty much how every website works. You can just make it bigger and more complex as it grows. But for now, that's all we need. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you like this type of video, and you click on that thumbs up to let me know that you like it so I can try to improve, and at the same time it can make this video more findable to others. So yeah, thank you for watching, and you will see me next time. All right.